Hello, and welcome to the Week 18 devlog for QuiVr, my HTC Vive archery game. Now, you may be thinking, what happened to Weeks 16 and 17? Well, unfortunately, I was out over the past 2 weeks in San Francisco meeting with the group that's helping me develop this game further, as well as taking a bit of a break over the Labor Day weekend here in the US with my family. So those two devlogs don't actually exist because they never got recorded. And I figured instead of calling this one week 16, I'd call it what it really was, which is the 18th week of development. Because even though devlogs didn't get produced during those 2 weeks, a lot of work did get done on the game itself. So, one of the first things that you may notice is multiple gems here in the front. If you've been playing the game since the last devlogs, you know what that does. But for those who haven't been playing the game and are just watching while they wait for their Vive or any other reason, these two new gems have replaced some of the functionality of the settings menu, where while you still can use the quick match button here in multiplayer, you can now use a gem as well, so that you don't have to go in and find menus, especially if you're a new player. It's much more intuitive. The Gameplay Lab is a new system over the last 2 weeks that is being used to test new features that aren't ready to be put into the full game because the actual usage for those systems needs to be worked out, but I still want to try out those mechanics. So we can take a look real quick at this current Gameplay Lab, which is a test of some enemy attacking mechanics. Now the way it works is you just hit the begin test button and you can try out the mechanic that is currently being tested. So as I mentioned, this mechanic is enemy projectiles being fired at you, which you can interact with. If you get hit by one, you kind of die and get taken out of the game for a couple seconds. In this mode, you can't do anything. Your arrows don't do damage. They don't really interact with anything. Currently there are 3 different projectiles that are being tested. The first is that kind of fastball style projectile. The next projectile from the spider is a catapult style projectile, which you can shoot out of the sky, and that's really the only way to not die to that projectile is to shoot it out of the sky. And then the third projectile, as soon as I get the spider, is a secondary variation of the fastball, which is kind of a shotgun style projectile set, which you can either dodge if you're feeling particularly dexterous, or hide behind some cover to avoid getting shot. When you're done playing with the system, you can then vote on how you felt the particular test went. So for this one, it's asking questions about the basic projectiles. Do you think that we should shoot, that enemies should shoot? So we can give responses. I particularly like the catapult. Which one would I not want? I think all of them are pretty good. And then it thanks you for your feedback. Now, all of this feedback is being collected. All the votes are being tallied. So I appreciate everybody voting for it. That gives me a lot of good information about what people like. When we're done playing in here, we can go back to the keep. Once you're done, you can still keep playing, but we're going to go back to the keep, and now it'll load that scene. And while I'm in the editor, it doesn't load it asynchronously because of an editor limitation. But in the normal game, you'll get to play around for a couple seconds while the scene loads. Here instead, I have so now that we're back in the main scene, we can play the game like we normally would. You can either jump into multiplayer or play a single player game. One cool new feature is the addition of this area here, which is just another place that you can teleport to. It gives a better view of this particular ramp because previously this was kind of the one area that wasn't well seen by any of the teleport points around the map. And so it's a pretty cool thing to look at. Most of the rest of the game has stayed fairly similar. A number of adjustments have been made to the multiplayer systems. In particular, the score section, you can now mute players. There's a push to talk by pushing the grip button of your bow hand. There is an ability to go into in the multiplayer menu. You can now look at friends. And while none of my friends are online right now, if there were people online, and particularly in game, it would show their name, their status, and if they were already in a multiplayer game, there's a button that would be right here that you could hit, and you'll be put right into their game very easily. The create private game isn't ready just yet because there are a couple of edge cases I still need to work out, but it's coming fairly shortly, and this will be the way, your friends list will be the way that you join up with them once that's all sorted out. Another cool thing that this week happened is Anton Hand from Hot Dogs, Horseshoes, and Hand Grenades fixed or kind of showed me a really cool way to get the QuiVr to stay put. And now when you look up and down, it won't rotate around you in the same way. Another cool thing that was just added most recently is the body. So here you can see that I actually have a torso now. I can see my shadow, but really this is for multiplayer. And this is thanks to Master Indy, who is making a really cool melee combat game. I asked him if he would be willing to share his torso kind of tracking script, and he was definitely gracious enough to do that, and I think it's a really cool system. It tracks really well. You can move your head up and down and even side to side without it turning too much, but at the same time, if I turn all the way around, it will move to face the direction that I'm standing. So I think it's a really good middle ground between while we don't have actual trackers that are being tracked for the chest, this does a really good approximation at figuring out kind of where your chest would be. So I think it's a really cool system that we now have in place. A number of anti-griefing mechanisms have been added to the game in multiplayer specifically, so that as we get more and more people, some people won't get along with each other exactly right because people's playstyles are different. People have different goals for what they want to do in the game. And I'm really trying to steer away from serious punishments. I don't want to ban anybody. That's not, I don't want to get in the habit of that I don't want to have to control that type of thing. And so my intended solution is to make it so that it's really impossible to ruin somebody's game. There are now mechanisms in place. You can have a personal bubble where if arrows get shot at you, they will disappear on your own screen. They'll get removed from your helmet instantly so that you can't get your vision blocked. If people's hands go too close to your face, they'll kind of fade out the same way that your own hands do when you're drawing an arrow. And in the scores, there are speaker icons next to everybody's name, and if someone is breathing too loud so that their mic is going off and they're not using push to talk, or if they're just not being the caring members of the VR community that you would like, all you have to do is shoot an arrow at the icon. When you hit it, the speaker icon will turn red and have a cross through it, and they will be muted for you, so you don't have to listen to them anymore. Similarly, it will show other people's preferences if they're self-muted or not, which is pretty cool. I think that's about it for this week's updates. There are lots of things that are coming down the pipe that aren't ready to be shared yet. And while I am trying to be very open with everybody, I do understand the need that other game publishers have where I don't want to overpromise something and then have it not pan out. But if you've seen the big update that I posted, not this past week, but the week before, where the game is doing a little bit of growing up, and we have raised a bit of money. We're getting art assets done professionally from a group of people who have done serious artwork for full AAA titles very recently. We have some people from Blizzard who've done work on Diablo that are coming in as advisors to the game. So we have some really cool people who are actually starting to begin working on this project. So I think that you will see it over the next month or so really evolve into something cool and in particular unique. There are lots of archery games that are going to be coming out over the next few weeks and months, and while QuiVr is really well positioned in that space, everything is kind of being compared to it now, even more so than Longbow almost. There's still a lot of genericness to the game systems themselves. I'm trying to move away from the standard wave shooter type of game, and so as soon as I have something concrete to share and show you, I am very excited to do so. There's a lot of really cool ideas floating around, and even a number of them that are being tested. And so I'm very excited to show those all, show them and share them with you. So thanks very much for watching this devlog. I really appreciate you guys' continued feedback. Things like push to talk, the way to mute other players, the graphic settings that have a frame counter now, all of those, there's a bunch of little features that are being added the same day as I get the suggestions from the community. So I'm really thankful for everybody being very supportive and giving awesome suggestions. I oftentimes will post a comment describing the issues with implementing a particular feature and asking for suggestions, and someone will come along and just have a really cool, novel idea, and I will put it in the game that same day because it's so cool. So I really appreciate people spending the time to think up cool systems because they very may well end up in the game that day. And it just makes the game better for everybody. So I really appreciate everybody's support and continued feedback and playing the game and enjoying it. So I think that's all for this week, and I look forward to showing more next week. Thanks.